we are constantly consuming news, information, content, and food. All too often not very mindfully. But what does actually happen if we allow ourselves a pause, our body, our digestion, to actually step back from consuming food? And this is exactly what I did over the past 5 days. I did a juice cleanse. No solid food for 5 days. And while doing a juice cleanse can have profound physical benefits, there's also a side that is all too often overlooked of doing a juice cleanse. And that is the spiritual side, what we're gonna dive in today. Welcome to the Embodied Witch. My name is Sabine and I am your podcast host. Right now, when I'm recording this episode, it's Thursday evening. I'm sitting on my couch, I'm cuddled in my blanket, I'm having a cup of tea. I'm in the last hours of my juice cleanse. Tomorrow morning, I finally gonna eat again. So I only had juices, coconut water, and teas for the last 5 days. And I love doing a juice cleanse. I started doing it. This is, I think, my third 5-day juice cleanse. I started doing it originally because for many, many years, I had huge problems with my digestion. And I really felt like my body needs a full reset. But the benefit of doing a juice cleanse is that you're still getting some minerals into your body, some vitamins. So you're not going completely cold turkey. And I found it a very profound experience for me. And yes, it really helped me actually on the physical level. But when I did my first juice cleanse, which I had no idea about, was actually the spiritual aspect, that it could actually turn into a very powerful spiritual practice when we consciously step away from consuming food. And so many people I talk about it is like, wow, I don't think I could ever do this. And like, yes, I love food so much. But there's also something really beautiful and powerful in consciously deciding that you give yourself a break. However long that might be. I started with a 1-day juice cleanse, then I went to 3 days. And now the last 3 times I did a 5-day juice cleanse. And what I noticed is that it also really affects your energetic, your spiritual side of being. Because our food not only affects our physical level, but it also really changes how we feel energetically. And I noticed that I feel energetically a lot lighter if I do a juice cleanse. It is almost like, I don't want to say necessarily I am less grounded, but obviously food is connected to the element of earth, and like there's some like earthiness of like, chewing, digesting, having food, even almost like having the physical weight of the food in our body. So when we switch to just juices, we also change the energetic layer of our being. So doing a juice cleanse can be a very beautiful period for you to actually dive or deepen your spiritual practice. You might notice that when you sit in meditation, it is so much easier to calm down the mind. I notice myself, I am way more focused during this period. And also, especially my channel, my upper chakras are so open and receptive. And I do think it makes a lot of sense. because our chakras, the energy centers of our body, the 3 lower chakras, are more connected to our human self, whereas our upper chakras are more connected to our spiritual self and the non-physical reality. And by choosing to not have any solid food for a certain period of time, we also kind of like live one foot out of the physical. And that makes us more receptive and open to the non-physical, to the energy. So just 3 days ago, I was on day 2 of my juice cleanse. I recorded the previous episode where we dived into Tantra. And if you haven't listened to it, it's a very, very, very juicy one, quite different to this one. So when I was talking about sexual energy and working with this very, very powerful life force energy and the sacred union and the flow of energy, like I was sitting here actually, and I started to feel so much energy moving through me. I had to pause because I was feeling, oh my God, I'm getting an energy orgasm here. And that can happen. And it was just like, it was so easy for me to tap into this energy because I haven't had any food that would like ground me and pull me down. So it was quite an interesting experience. You also notice, because our upper chakras, the third eye chakra, is really connected to the astral realms, to channeling, to visioning, to your intuition. So when we do a juice cleanse, from my experience, we can also heighten our intuition, our way of seeing beyond the physical. And I had a very other powerful experience. So on Sunday, it was still the first day of my juice cleanse. I was doing actually a ritual. I am working currently on the energy healing practitioner training, which is gonna start in September. And I was tuning into the woman that I want to attract, that I'm calling in for this training. So I was a little bit working kind of like with my favorite clients. And in this ritual, you were called into like this sense of your inner seeing, your inner intuition. And if you're like, what is she talking about? I do have a free quiz which will help you to find out your intuitive type, which is a very interesting practice. You can find it on my website at sacredholistichealing.com/quiz. I'm also going to put the link below. But so in this practice, I had different favorite clients, and like one of the ritual was to tune into their deepest soul longing. And for one of my favorite clients, the word that came through was soul family. And like we never talked about this topic before. So I was just like, I just wrote it down and then 2 days later, she comments on something and she starts to talk about her family and that she is calling in a soul family. And I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. So these are just 2 examples of what happened to me during just like the past 5 days, and to show you how you can potentially, and it's not like, it depends on where you are on your spiritual journey and if this is something that you're open to. But the invitation is that if you ever decide to do a juice cleanse, also see, how can you play with it on the energetic level? Because our food plays a big role into our grounding. So I wouldn't say if I do a juice cleanse, I am ungrounded, but I'm definitely way more in my upper chakras. And there's also another beautiful side of doing a juice cleanse. Yes, we are doing a physical detox, but this can also be a really, really powerful time and period to detox and cleanse more on the energetic level. Everything that you have been consuming, and I'm not only talking about food, like news, information, content, emotions, that also still live in your body, using this time to really flesh it out. Also on the energetic, on the emotional level. using this as a time to consciously create space to connect with yourself, to connect with your higher self, being less in the consuming in the outside world, but really using this as a time for yourself. So when I do my juice cleanses, it is not only that I cut out food, I also become very intentional about how I spend these 5 days. This is a very intentional time for my well-being, for self-care. So I plan, I don't know, did I mention this before or not? My brain is not 100% working. But just before, I actually kind of like ended my 5-day juice cleanse with a new moon sound healing, which was really beautiful. I usually treat myself to massages, to some other healing events or workshops. And I also, and this taps a little bit into the physical, but I also, feel like it really helps to detox the energetic and the mind, as I usually do a lot of recovery and especially sauna. It will really support your physical detox, but also it's really such a good time to reset the nervous system, to kind of like then also sweat out the old, let it go. So this is really a beautiful time to become a little bit more intentional, dedicating this time for yourself, maybe being a little bit less on your phone. You might also notice that you have a lot more mental clarity, like sharper thinking and so much more productivity. It depends actually from different. I do sometimes need a lot less sleep because also your body doesn't have to digest. And a big part of what happens during our sleep is our digestion. And you might end up having a lot more energy actually. And it's often, so as I said, this is a time that I really like to dedicate for myself. But at the same time, it can be some of the most productive time. But it's more when I really channel and tune into of what creation wants to move through me, what wants to be birthed through me. As I did the ritual when I tune into my energy healing practitioner training. So my offerings, my work is usually not something that comes from my logical mind. It is more something that I channel. It's something bigger that wants to move through me. So doing a juice cleanse can also be a beautiful opportunity to tap more into your intuition, to allow these insights to come through you. Because we are all able to tap into this. So yes, this is a time when you can really connect with the divine. And you might also notice, if you listened to last week's episode, which was about, Tantra, the fire, right now there's so much more softness. Like I feel really calm. I do feel really excited to eat again tomorrow, I have to say. But there's like this level of peace that moves through me. And also, which connects it a little bit back to last week, when we talked about, embracing pleasure, which is not only about sexual pleasure, but the pleasure of food. And actually consciously choosing to almost like deny yourself this pleasure, at least for a few days. But then you learn, like so often we just eat and we take it for granted, but then like I feel like I really appreciate, like I always appreciate food. At least I try to. But this is even new, like I'm like, oh my God, I can eat this again and this. And I'm like, my body is like craving it. And there's like so much beauty, stepping back for a few days, a period of time, and then indulging in all the sweetness and the pleasure that food can give us. So if you now feel like, oh my God, this sounds amazing, but now there's also a truth I have to tell you about this juice cleanse. It wasn't as joyful as my past 2 ones. And this was part of, so the beauty of living in Bali is you can order juice cleansers. So I'm going to go into like the logistics in a little bit. But so what I did, I ordered juice cleansers. And before, like for many years, I did it with the same beautiful company, and their juices were so delicious. Like honestly, it was like I love their juices so much. So whenever I do juice cleanse, I get really excited. Unfortunately, they no longer exist. So when I found out, I was like really, really, really bummed. I looked for alternatives and I didn't really find one. And in the end, I pushed back my juice cleanse and ended up doing it with a different company. But I have to say, their juices, they were good, but they didn't really, it was like the same every day, not much of a variety. So, yeah. Usually, they want to do a pretty, like I'm getting into it, smooth sailing. This time, day 3 was the hardest day. I was like so hungry. I really wanted to eat. And then like my ego kicks in and it's like, okay, you can just do a 3-day juice cleanse. That's still good. You can eat tomorrow again. But I was like, no. And then on day 4, in the morning, during the day, I felt amazing. I went for massage, for recovery. I did a morning run with my dog at the beach. But then the evening, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I even sent my friend a voice message just complaining. I was like, oh, I want to eat so badly. All I want to do is watch Netflix and order my pizza rolls, which is so freaking amazing. And then this morning, and I think this is why it happened this way, I was like, okay, I have one more day to go. I can either go through this day suffering and just being like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. But then I realized I choose this experience. No one is forcing me to do this. So yes, I can spend the last 24 hours like suffering. Or I can be like, I have one more day left. How can I make this the best day in my juice cleanse? And it seriously turned it all around. And now I'm sitting here. I have, I think, 14 more hours to go. I mean, like 8 of these hours are gonna sleep. So that's pretty cool. But like, I was like, this is really beautiful. I do really enjoy it. And so I also want to take a moment now, if you feel like, maybe I want to try it out. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. So I'm just sharing from my personal experience. Obviously, consult with someone depending on, your condition, where you are in life. But I do believe it can be a really, really beautiful and powerful spiritual experience. Not only physical, good for your body, but actually spiritual. But so how I started all of this couple of years ago is I first did it 1 day. Then I did 3 days. I think I did 3 days, maybe 2 times. And then I went to 5 days. And I don't know, maybe I am going to do 7 days. But right now I feel pretty content with 5 days. I'm like, okay, tomorrow I really look forward to eat again. So yeah, playing with the lengths, but also really trusting the divine timing. So in my ideal world, I do a juice cleanse every 6 months. Now it is July. The last time I did my 5-day juice cleanse was last year in August. So yes, it was almost a year ago. But if you listened to episode number 2, where I talk about my last 4 months were challenging. So I think, was it in February or March where I was like, okay, actually now 6 months passed. It's time for your juice cleanse. But I was just about to actually lose my home and I was really struggling to find a new place to live. So I was like, okay, this is not a good time, my love, to do a juice cleanse. Then I moved into my new home, the construction started, and it was a really, really challenging time. So if you ever consider doing a juice cleanse, I would recommend, if possible, to do it in a period of your time, of your life, where you feel emotional, somehow stable. You don't have to have figured your whole life out, but if there are, like for me, not having a home, having kind of like my foundation, my ground taken away, and then doing a juice cleanse, which kind of like is also a little bit ungrounding. I was like, okay, this is not a good combination. And also, if you are a woman, this is, I think, really, really important. If you live in tune with your cycle, the best time to do a juice cleanse or a detox is in your follicle phase and your ovulation. So I would absolutely not recommend doing this during your menstruation, during your bleed, because you are physically losing a lot. So you want to make sure you're actually filling up yourself with food. Doing it in your luteal phase gonna be really, really, really hard. And you're kind of gonna be working against your body. Because remember, if you are in your luteal phase, your body believes that you are pregnant. Ovulation happened. There's a possibility your body prepares for pregnancy. So you need more calories, you need more food than in the first half of your cycle, which is completely normal. Also, your blood sugar is a lot less stable than in your follicular phase. So you're going to have so many more cravings, and it's going to be really hard to resist them. So I do really recommend doing it in the time leading up to your ovulation. Obviously, it would be good like the day before and after to already cut back on sugar intake. Obviously on caffeine. So if you drink coffee or green tea or black tea. Now, for me, I don't drink, I only drink herbal tea. I cut out coffee already many years ago. So for me, this is not really a problem. I'm just like high on life. But this is also something to consider. So you maybe want to reduce your coffee intakes already, a couple of days before to really, slowly, and don't go cold turkey, because it's going to be pretty challenging for you. So yeah, these are a little bit of the logistic. Obviously, as I said, I'm not a nutritionist, not a doctor. I'm just sharing from my own lived experience. But yeah, I do believe this can be really a beautiful experience for you, and really using this as a time to tune into the spiritual side, the divine, doing some more meditations. I also did several castor oil packs to help with the physical detox. But then while I do the castor oil packs, I lie down and I usually turn on a meditation, some sound healing, a guided journey. So I really use this as a time to nourish myself. And it does also actually help a lot to balance your hormones. So if you're a woman and you're struggling with hormonal imbalance, this can be a beautiful way, but obviously, it depends on your circumstances. So once again, talk to your doctor. I'm just sharing from my experience. So if you feel called to open your channel, a juice cleanse is a beautiful opportunity, but there are obviously a million other ways. In today's episode, I just wanted to shed a little bit more light on the spiritual side of juice cleansing, which can be much more than just a physical detox. So I'm curious to know how this landed for you. Maybe you have some questions, leave some comments below. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating, leave a review, subscribe to the channel, maybe share it with someone you've been thinking of, or maybe even do a juice cleanse with someone together, which can be really fun. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my tea. I'm gonna go to bed very, very soon. The last few hours in my juice cleanse, and I have to say, it has been tough. There has been moments where I was like, and that's normal, or at least for me. But right now, I am so, so happy I did this. Especially, as I was struggling on day 3 and day 4, I was like, of course, you shouldn't push through it if you're actually physically really sick and you're not feeling well. But also, your word is really, really powerful. And it depends on if you stick to it. So I said I'm gonna do a 5-day juice cleanse. Are you able to keep your word, even to yourself? Because your word can manifest things in your life, but only if you give your word the power to do it. If your words are worthless, if you say things and you don't follow through, you're gonna have a hard time to create and call in the life that you desire. So this goes so much deeper. And I guess I'm gonna leave you with this, and I'm gonna see you again next week. Every Wednesday, a new episode is dropping. And you might now notice this, like, from Tantra to juice cleansing to the year of the fire horse. Let's see what next week brings. Also, if there's a topic that you're really curious about, send me a message or leave a comment below. Like, I'm so open to see what wants to come through. All right, I'm sending you much love